Start the recording again. I went back and added a little dark to represent this part in here. This is dry, so I can still pick up a little bit more of the dark if I want to, just to exaggerate some of the dark parts of the sky, because it always dries lighter than you think. And I want to go back and establish a little darker in the water to represent what's above it. And then I haven't done anything with the land, and the land would be a dark blue and the brown and the purple. I'm going to do it while it's wet, which might not be the best thing. Oh, that's not dark enough. Where I'm going to create a line right under that orange and just kind of do little blobs, wiggles to represent the land. And that's enough. If I worry about, if I overthink and it's like, I don't like the fact that how this is so dark, this orange right here, that line should have been a little lighter. If you go back and analyze and redo everything, you're going to end up screwing it up.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone, walk away, it'll be fine. If I wanted a little more blue up in here when it's dry, I could go in and add a little bit more blue up in here. And I could even go over the orange clouds right there. Do y'all see what I just did? Mm-hmm. Because those orange clouds are in shadows. So if I want to go over them very lightly, I can do that to mute it a little bit. But that's enough representation of what I saw there. Now this line right here is too dark because I didn't leave this gap. See what I missed? Mm-hmm. So do I care?
No.
No.
Artistic.
See, you take this away and you go, oh, cool clouds.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And you don't worry about it. It's Lake something Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Something Martin.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
I know.
Anyway, but that's one way to create some, dynamic sky. So I want you to get another sheet of paper, and I want you just to watch. Last time some of you started painting before I said go.
We had olive oil tasting at Carlisle last night, and she had these little cups in front, and they were all numbered, and I was taking off all the lids and sniffing them, and she said, "Don't take any lids off yet. Don't sniff yet."
Like, oh. Well, when I taught school, this is what I did. See if y'all know what this stands for. When the kids would come in and there would be something on the table, and there'd be something on the table, but DTUI would be on the table. DTUI. This would be
undo.
Don't touch until instructed. So they'd see that and they'd go, oh crud, I can't touch it. It's like, anyway, it was kind of fun. Detui is what we called it. Detui. So, you do what you can for, Yeah. Oh, yes, you had to be, you couldn't take anything too serious, especially with middle school. What I want to work on next is a less stressful sky, because a lot of y'all were getting a little stressed out. I should have started with something a little easier. And I thought I had it marked, and I have the wrong journal. Hold on. This is going to be more of a Texas, a bright summer sky. I feel like I'm missing a smaller journal. Is there one around? I have Brad's. Okay, hold on. Sorry. I don't think it's in this size. Well, this'll do. Okay. See this one right here? Right here? Texas skies, a simple landscape but most of it is, well, at least a third of it is white or close to white. So it's very similar to what we did. If some of you were not laying in maybe enough color. Just drop something up there. So I'm going to just work on top of this. It won't hurt anything. So when I look at this is another thing I want you to think about, is always use more than one color in your sky. This has 2 different blues, and then it fades to light. Okay? So I know I want to use 2 blues. So I'm going to look at my palette up here. My palette up here is kind of a mess. So I'm going to go ahead, and this will help you with speed. So if you have a section of your palette that is clean, you don't have to clean it out. But I didn't have one that was clean. I had one that was sort of blue, but I'm just going to start fresh. So I'm going to pick the 2 blues that I like. It's going to be the 2 blues that are side by side. This probably close to cerulean blue. That one, kind of a turquoisey tint to it. And then I'm going to go with the one right next to it. It's more of the ultramarine, more of the pure blue, but it leans more toward purple. Okay, do y'all see the 2 of those? So if I know I'm going to be using a lot of blue, and this is probably way more blue than I need for this one painting, but I just want to make sure that y'all could see the piles of paint. If you want them more intense, then you add more paint to it. Right now they're fairly watery, which is fine because of what I'm going to use them for.
So which 2 did you use? Third row down,
The
second from the left?
yeah, the first 2 together.
Third row, first 2. Thank you.
And again, it's a choice, because you should have your your little key. I could have picked this one at the end, and then this one. But see, this key doesn't have the graduated colors on it, which I did later. I wish I had, that shows more what that color can do. So if I go back and pull this out of its sleeve and do a little bit of, graduated, I could see the more intense those colors are. So you pick whichever blues you want. It doesn't matter to me. But the same process is, I'm going to flood the majority of the top of this card. I'm not going to flood down here yet because I don't want paint down here. Most of this in through here isn't even painted. There's a little bit of pale blue, but not much. All right, so just watch. This is going to be a really fast sky. And it's fast because I already have the paint pulled and it's in puddles, and I'm going to be doing wet on wet. So flood my paper about 1/3 of the way down, or 2/3 maybe. I'm going to pick up the darkest dark out of my puddle. I want some of that other color mixed in, and I'm going to just kind of dance around where I think clouds would be. I usually do it when my brush is this way. Sometimes I turn it sideways. And come on down here, and then I'm going to just lift some of that out to create a soft edge. I'm just creating the illusion of clouds, and that's about it. Okay?
With a paper towel, dry
Yep.
paper towel?
Dry paper towel. And if you want to create a little bit more division between some, you can add a little bit. But the easiest kind of cloud is lay in the color, lift it off. You can even lay in all. I'm going to just do it one more time. You can even lay all the color in. Here's another option. All the color in, and then lift off. Clouds. It's just a softness in the air. Now this one is where I painted, more around and had specifics, but I want you to do some really simple sky. Lay it in, lift it off. And if you want darker, see, if I wanted it a little darker, I could go straight into my paint. If I go straight into my paint, I'm always darker. And it doesn't have to look like anything in particular. I just like the sky to be darker and bolder in one place, and I'm going to find that cloud one that I want to do, because
Not yet. Thank you.
When you wet your paper, are you squeezing the heck out of your brush?
I shouldn't have to squeeze the heck out of it, but
Okay.
it's.
When you started at the corner, which color did you start with?
I started with the darker.
And I know from experience with acrylics even, but when you put that green under there, that's gonna really look good. Right now, it doesn't look like the one on the left,
Right.
but after you put the green under it, it's not gonna matter. It looks like it's gonna look like a sky.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
It's a very loose, quick way to create a sky. And, lay in the color, leave it alone, or lift it out. I found the one I wanted. We'll do that next. It's with more poofy clouds.
Poofy?
Cumulus. Cumulus clouds. And I know where another example is. This line right here and my blue is really hard, and I don't want it to be hard, so while it's still slightly wet, I'm just going to add some water to that, and maybe it's wet enough to make that a soft edge instead of a hard line. So. Yay, look at y'all. I see blue color. Yeah. Good. Add more water in through here.
Yeah, it got dry.
Mine dries pretty quick.
Now at home, it was wet and it was running everywhere. Here, it's dry.
I wonder, well, I turned the fan off because hopefully you're comfortable without it, and if you're sitting near a fan, it's gonna dry faster. Oh, I see little flecks that I picked up, little spots. Sometimes your paint does that. Wet it, pick it up. Make a bird out of it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and lay in my ground. Over here, I have just some greens. It's distant, so you really don't want bright green. So I'm just gonna lay in my ground with a straight line. And it's not on the ocean. I'm gonna make it slightly curved. I don't want it totally straight because I'm not doing water. So I come back with a darker green. Remember last week when, and that's pretty bright. Add a little brown to it. Remember when we did, this is wet into wet, and the darker on top. Doesn't have to be. And I don't care what color field you have. If you might have a bluebonnet field. So I'm going to pretend it's a bluebonnet field. And I'm going to add, I hope I can get some blue. I'm going to add some blue in the distance. I'm back in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's too pale, so I pick up more blue straight from my palette. Distance is, when you're dealing with a field that's flat, when you get up close, then you can do some vertical up and down stuff. But when you're at a distance, you want it flat, and it'll read like it is from the distance. I want to throw in some trees. I don't want them very big. Whoa, that's really dark. Wet that a little bit and lift it up. They're just trees and shrubs along the distant hills. I'm not even worried about trunks. It's so far away.
So that's wetting to wet that ground?
Mm-hmm. And then when I wanted a little more specific up close, then I added that. So. But whatever you want in the distance. If you want to do a marsh, you can do a marsh. You know, that just reminds me of Texas. I love the Texas skies. I really missed that when I moved here. Okay? Y'all, yes, no?
Can't do it.
Oh, yes, you can. You can practice.
Okay, I'm gonna practice.
You can do it. It is not out of reach. I'm going to go ahead and stop this particular recording. And